Okay, so we're supposed to solve this equation here. So let's just bring it. I'm gonna make it an x just because my z's end up looking like 2's, and they have a couple of 2's there. I think everything will be confusing. I'm just going to use x. It doesn't matter. The computer doesn't know which letter I used. All right. So what do we do first? Well, definitely when we have parentheses, you know, we always need to distribute through them. So what do we get? So 2x times 3x is 6x squared, plus, and then 2x times 2 is 4x equals 9x plus 6. Is that good first off? Remember that 2x times 3x is 6x squared, right? The 2 times 3 is 6, and the x times x is x squared. And 2x times 2 is 4x. So do that first. And now notice we've got an x squared. What do we do when we got x squared? Let's go over here on the side and write out what we do. When we have, when we're solving x squared with an equal sign, which is our situation, we got x squared, we got an equal sign. Step number 1 is to get a 0 on one side. So we got to get a 0 on one side. So how are we going to get a 0 on one side? Well, here, let's put in the wall of separation first off. Here's the wall. Okay. So the first thing we're going to need to do is I'm going to subtract the 9x and 6 from both sides. And that way, these guys will cancel. There'll be nothing left on the right side but 0, which is what it says, get 0 on one side. Oops, what happens on the other side? Just bring down the 6x squared. And then 4x minus 9x is minus 5x minus 6. Like that. That good? So step 1, get a 0. All right. And then step 2, now what? Now we have to factor with the 2 parentheses. So we're going to have to factor that on the left side. Now you know about factoring. In fact, let's do this. Let's get rid of this. And now we're going to factor. Now, how do you factor? Well, it's about multiply, add, multiply, right? So what multiplies to equal 6? Well, 2 times 3, 6 times 1. So I'm going to put the 2 parentheses. And I'm going to say, put them a little closer together. I'm going to say 2x, 3x, right? Multiplies would be 6x squared. Front times front multiplies to be front. Okay. Now, what multiplies to be the 6 in the back? Well, same thing, right? But the order matters. So let me go over here with the other order. So, and this is going to also be 2x, 3x. Now, there's 2 orders for how I put things in the back. I could put them like this. I could put like here. I could put 3 here and 2 here, or 2 with the 2 and 3 with the 3. Right? That would be the other option. So remember, you have to mix up the option. And I haven't even done the 6-1 options, but we'll see. So I can put the 2 with the 3 and the 3 with the 2, or the 2 2's together and the 2 3's together. Now you have, there is a rule to help us here to keep us moving on track. Never 2 numbers in the same parenthesis that have anything in common. Like you can't have 2x plus 4, for example. That's not allowed. Or, 3x plus 9 or 3x plus 3, right? You can't have that. So this is a no-go. Why can't you have that? Because you could factor out the 2. they have something in common, or the 3 or whatever. And why is that the end of the world? Well, we always look for, I skipped it, but I probably should have. Right here, I looked really quick and I noticed there was nothing in common, right? 6, 5, and 6 have nothing in common. Nothing, there's no number that divides into 6, 5, and 6. Nothing divides into 6 and 5, basically, right? Nothing except for 1. 1 goes into everything. We're not counting 1. But there's no other number that divides into 6 and 5. So, so they have nothing in common. So you can't end up having two numbers in the same parentheses that have something in common, because that means there'd be a common thing that comes out. And there is no common thing that comes out. We already looked right here. All right, so remember that rule. You're never going to have two numbers when you're doing the multiply, add, multiply, factoring. You're never going to have two numbers in the same parenthesis that have anything in common. So we're not going to have two 2's or two 3's in the same parenthesis. No way. All right, let's try the other option then. Let's see if it's right. I'm going to check this one. So the first one goes to both. That's going to be 6x squared, 4x, and then this one goes to both, 9x and 6. So the question is, can they make the middle term? What's the middle term? Negative 5x. Can they make that? Well, remember the rule about the sign? Sign in the middle to the bigger number. So that sign in the middle is going to go right there. And this will be plus, right? The sign in the middle goes to the bigger number always. So yes, that works, doesn't it? Those add 4x plus 4x minus 9x does equal minus 5x in the middle. It does work. It's working. It's perfect. And so that means, now remember how they crisscross. This guy goes here and this guy goes back there. When you put them back into the parentheses, they crisscross. And then that makes negative 6, right? Because negative 3 times plus 2 does make negative 6, which is what we want. Check. It's all good. That really is the factoring. Okay, so I don't know if I've lost you. That was complex, right? The multiply, add, multiply, factoring is never easy. We got to get everything just right. So let's bring it on down now. So we've got it just right. So that means grab this and bring this down. So we've got 2x minus 3, 3x plus 2, and it's still equal to 0. Remember the equal 0 that we had from the beginning? So I just factored the multiply, add, multiply into two parentheses, made sure with the check that everything was working with the signs and everything, and then bring it down, right? So that was step 2, factor. All of that was step 2, factor. And then finally, step 3, each part equals 0 and solve. Each part equals 0 and solve. So take this part first off. 2x minus 3 gets its own 0. And then the other one, 3x plus 2 gets its own 0. Why is that? Because if these are parentheses, right, which means they're multiplying. If two things are multiplying to equal 0, the first one could be 0 or the second one could be 0, right? That makes sense. 0 times anything would be 0 if the first one's 0. If the second one is 0, anything times 0 would be 0. So then just solve both of those. So add 3 to both sides. Boom. 2x is 3. Divide by 2. Over here, subtract 2 from both sides. 3x is minus 2. Divide by 3. So there's our two answers, 3/2 and negative 2/3. We got them both. We can bring them back up here and go click, 3/2, negative 2/3. Either order, doesn't matter which one you put first or second in that. Doesn't matter at all. Those are the two answers. So let's recap. What happened? That was a lot of work, wasn't it? So first off, we had parentheses from the beginning. So I just distributed through the parentheses and got this. And as soon as I see x squared with an equal sign, I know what to do. Step 1, get a 0. So I did the opposite of these guys, did it to both sides, got a 0 on the right side. And so once I had 0 over there, then step 2, factor into the 2 parentheses. And that was a bit complex. I had the multiply, add, multiply to factor this. That's where you have to do, what multiplies to be 6, try 2 and 3 with, and then try it with both orders, the 2 with the 3, 3 with the 2, and the 2 2s and 3s together. But then I remembered you never have 2 numbers in the same parenthesis that have anything in common. So these are out. Don't even bother to check them. They're out. I checked this option and it worked, made the middle term work. Sign in the middle, negative, went on the bigger, negative and plus 4. That does make negative 5x in the middle. It's all good. And then step 3 said each part equal to 0. So take each of these because they're multiplying. 2 things multiplied equals 0. Either one could be 0. And I solved them. There we go.